Welcome back to Unleashed, Unfiltered, and Unapologetically Human with me, Julie. Today's episode, I'm going to be talking about breakups. I know it's a little different from a lot of my content that I've been making lately, but I've recently been going through a breakup and it's honestly rough. With everything going on in the world and just that to add on top, it's horrible. Whether you're the dumper or the dumpy, it just sucks. Everyone's been there, and I feel like we don't talk about it enough. We don't talk about all the stages that you have to go through. It freaking sucks. And so I kind of wanted to go through like the emotional stages, mistakes, healing strategies, and just moving on, to be honest. Um, so a lot of issues when it comes to breakups. Honestly, I feel like whenever any breakup that I've been part of, it's been kind of traumatizing, to be honest. um my last breakup, it's still continuing to this day. Like, I am unfortunately, the villain in this person's story, and which is fine. They're gonna have their opinion, whatever. But it sucks that, for this long, they're still talking about, whatever. um but yeah, honestly, just the unraveling of the emotional take of having a breakup, some people it takes, a couple months. Honestly, I've seen a lot of like posts of like people of how, the way whenever a woman is going through like breakups or whatever, or they're the one that's wanting to break up with the person, a lot of the time they will kind of disassociate maybe like a month or two after, and just like realizing like this person isn't for me, and they just start realizing and they start kind of backing off. They're not really caring as much. And I've definitely been there of like, you know what, this ain't for me, and just trying to figure out is it, me going through personal issues? Is it the person? It's one of those things that like we really, most women do try to like really see if it's right to have this breakup, and then so a lot of the time people are like, oh, the women like just get over it really fast. It's not true at all. Like, we still go through it. It's just like we kind of go through the breakup like a month or two before, and so when the official breakup actually happens, it's kind of less impacting because we've already been going through those emotions. um let's see here. So, the aftermath of breakups, shocks and denial. I i had a breakup with my ex-boyfriend, and he honestly, he broke up the day before my fiance that passed away before his birthday, and he knew that. And honestly, it was very upsetting, and I cried a lot. I'm not going to lie. I cried so much because, one, my ex-fiance that passed away, he that was very traumatizing in itself, and that's like another podcast that I will do later on down the road. But it was going to be his birthday, and my ex was like, "Hey, like, we need to talk." And I knew it was coming because he's never kind of said that to me before. And I was devastated. I'm not going to lie, because I'm hoping that I can have my partner to be there for me in a very like emotional and difficult time, and they just want to leave. And so it impacted me a lot, and it kind of made me a little secluded when it came to like showing my emotions when it comes to, my grief and everything like that. And so I definitely I took it pretty hard, and that night I went out and partied and I tried to get my mind off things. And mind you, I am not a person that really parties a lot. I might be 24, but I act like I'm in my like 40s. I'm not a party person. Like even when I turned 21, I just didn't drink. I'm not a drinker. Like I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I was supposed to be born in a different era. But I went out drinking and partying with some friends, and it sucked because the only reason why I did it was honestly because we were still friends on social media, which I highly don't recommend. There are some people that they can just be friends with their exes or whatever, but I am not one of them. I cannot be friends with my exes because I be honest, I get jealous, and especially if I still have like feelings for them and I'm just like seeing them, hanging out with friends or hanging out with another girl, whatever the case is. Like, I get very jealous, and then, that makes me end up, going to party and doing things that I don't regularly do. And so, highly suggest don't do any texting. I've never really been a drunk texter. I kind of try to stay off my phone when it comes to that. I've had friends in the past that have texted their ex, and it never goes well. So highly don't suggest that. And stalking their social media. Unfortunately, these days it is so easy to be able to look at other people's social media. Mind you, you're able to put your stuff on private, which is great, but sometimes I've had exes that have made different profiles just to see my social media, and it gets pretty scary. I ain't gonna lie, but definitely like the no contact, trust me, it is a game changer. Once you do no contact, you don't look at their social media, you don't try to text them, you don't try to see what they're doing, you don't ask your friends like how are they doing, whatever. Once you start doing that, it will make a difference because you are finally moving on with your life. And also, another thing I want to talk about is seeking closure. Sometimes you are never going to get that closure. You are never going to get the answers to your questions. And it took me a long, long time to realize that, you know what, sometimes you're just not going to get it. And that is okay. And you need to be able to move on without those answers. Like you can ask yourself, you can try to be like, well, what if I did this? What if I did that? Or why did you do that? Why did you that do this? Or whatever the case is. But sometimes you're just not going to get those answers. And you have to be okay with that because having those answers and making it go through your head time and time again, it's going to make you go crazy. Trust me. And within this last year, I've honestly learned so much about myself as a person, and I realized that, you know what? I don't need that. I don't need the closure. I'm forgiving myself for whatever mistakes I've done in that relationship. It's done and over with. The mistakes are made. I'm only human. That person was only human. I can only forgive them in order to move on with my life. I try my best to be a good person, and sometimes you're going to be a villain in people's story, and that's perfectly fine because and a lot of people don't realize this, and I honestly saw a podcast. I can't remember which podcast it was, but they were saying how whenever you get married to somebody and you fall in love, you're going to have to fall in love with this person like 10 different times because every single year, every single decade, you're going to change. You're going to change as a person. The person you were as a teenager is a completely different person that you're going to be in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s. You're going to change throughout your lifetime, because you're going to go through, you know, people might pass away, you might lose your job, you might have kids, things change in your life. And so you as a person are going to change, your perspective is going to change. You might have some trauma that might end up, changing your perspectives on things. And that's perfectly fine. And you have to realize that you need to fall in love with this person. You have to fall in love with this person several times. And that is perfectly normal. You're never going to stay the same. If you're going to stay the same, like, that means you're not growing as a person. And so, being able to accept that things already happened, it's already done and over with, and you have to forgive yourself. They may not forgive you, and that is their journey to go through. That is their healing. However they want to go through it, that's them. As long as you keep your no contact and you keep focusing on, you did try your best, you did make some mistakes, and that's perfectly normal. You are only human and you are growing from it. That is the most important part. And that kind of goes through, you have to learn yourself. You have to go through that pain of accepting that. And essentially, through science and everything like that, the brain treats a heartbreak like a withdrawal from an addiction. The dopamine, oxytocin crash, like, that breakup is just, it hurts so bad. And a lot of the time, you feel like you're losing yourself because you lost this person. But it's only because, they gave that sort of like adrenaline to you. And it could be a horrible relationship, narcissistic, abusive, whatever the case is. You go through so many um hormones and like that adrenaline that you get addicted to it. So now that it's gone, and that's why it's kind of so hard to do that no contact sometimes, is because you have that adrenaline. You get so used to, it could be a toxic relationship, whatever it is. You get so used to it that now that it's gone, you're like, what do I do with myself? Like, I've lost myself. What do I do? And that's where, you know you have to change your routine. Your routine was waking up, texting your partner, hey, I love you, whatever the case is. Now you don't have that anymore, and you have to be able to change up your routine. And I think as well, as much as you want to seclude and just not be around people, it is very important. And I've learned that for myself as well. I am the type of person that when stuff is going on in my life, I seclude. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to call anybody. I just want to be alone. And it's just more of like, that's how my coping mechanism has just, that's how I've been able to cope with things. But with recently, I've really depended on like my best friend. She lives in a whole nother state, but like, she's called me, she's texted me, and she's always been there to help me through the rough times. And as much as like sometimes I don't want to talk, like, we'll just be on the phone for like hours and just talk about random stuff. Or like, she has like ADHD and like, all the things. And so we're just always going off like different conversations. And it's really helped me in motivating me in becoming a better person, as well as just accepting that, people can do the worst to you. People can say the worst things about you, but in the long run, that's going to hurt them. And you have to just keep focusing on yourself. Just keep doing you. And I am trying to, go back to school. I am in school right now, but I'm trying to change my major right now. um And I really want to focus on mental health, and because it's been such a huge part of my life, it's something that affects like a lot of my family. And unfortunately, with the way my family is, I grew up in a Hispanic, family, and mental health isn't talked about enough. It's one of those where like you're fine, get over it, that's it. We don't really talk about things too much. And so it is something that I am very passionate about, and I've always been passionate about it, but I've always been scared about failing. And that is a big issue of mine because the way I grew up, my parents, the way their parenting was, and I'm not really going to get into too much of that, but I just grew up to where I'm afraid to fail. And I realized that as an adult, and it sucks because in that it's prevented me from doing a lot of things that I honestly have been so passionate about but was just so scared to even consider doing because of the fact that like if I fail, I'm going to be this terrible human being. But in reality, failure is important in life, and I'm gonna fail, I'm not gonna know everything, and that's perfectly fine as long as I keep going, as long as I find resources to to help me. That's all that matters. Anyways, back to what I was saying, a little sidetrack. But you know and that is honestly coming back to where I was trying to go through. That's why breakups hurt so bad. you know you're used to all of this adrenaline, dopamine, oxytocin crash, all of that. You're so used to it. And that's kind of the reason why breakups hurt so bad, even the aftermath. And that's why people still, try to reach out to their exes, try to talk to them or whatever, because they're so addicted to that, hormone. Let's see. I I've experienced this, and kind of a topic of what people get wrong when trying to move on. The biggest thing in this world now is jumping into a rebound too quickly. I ain't gonna lie, I've had rebounds. I've been, going through a tough time, and I'm like, you know what? Somebody's giving me attention. I'm gonna just jump right in. And that's only because of, again, you're addicted to that withdrawal. You're having that withdrawal of having that routine of being with somebody. And so that is another thing that a lot of people get wrong. And I'm not going to say I'm a perfect person. I've never done it. I've done that. And it's it hurts you. It honestly hurts you because then you're not able to go through the emotions and go through all of, you know, all of the things that you went through with your ex. You haven't fully healed from it. And so going into another relationship, you end up kind of bringing that baggage into the relationship. And so any insecurities, um any like triggers that you had with your last partner, you bring it into your current one, which they don't deserve because of the fact that they're not the ones that gave you that trauma, those triggers. And so you bring that into that relationship, and it just causes basically the same issues. And mind you, a lot of the time the person tries to understand you and tries to be there for you, but sometimes it can just be difficult. And so jumping into another relationship is, sometimes it can go right, sometimes it can go bad, but I highly recommend, just from personal experience, of course, just try to give yourself, even if it's like a couple months of just trying to find yourself again, trying to be like, you know what? In the end, you're always going to have yourself. If you don't have somebody else, you always have yourself. Even if it's not your family, if it's your friends, whatever, you're always going to be there for yourself, and you have to be able to pick yourself up. I mean, you can have help from friends, that's perfectly fine, but Being able to be there for yourself and give yourself, self love is very important. Another thing that a lot of people get wrong is pretending everything's fine to themselves or others. It is okay to not be okay. I'm going to say that again. It is okay to not be okay. Breakups are hard. They're so freaking difficult. They're heartbreaking. They're just physically, emotionally, it sucks. But pretending that everything's fine, like, oh, it's fine, it's whatever, it's fine. I say that all the time. But it's okay to be like, you know what? I'm not feeling it. I feel exhausted. I'm heartbroken. I'm angry. I'm all the emotions, and that's okay. Because once you accept those emotions, and then once you accept that emotion and then you realize where that emotion is coming from, that's honestly going to help you heal from any of the trauma, any triggers that you've had, because then you can identify, hey, I'm angry right now because this person said this. This person used to say this and it affected me mentally. So I definitely don't pretend it's fine, because it's not, and that's okay. And having that friend, having, your family, whatever it is, whoever it is, be there for you, that is very important. Being able to lean on somebody and, talk to them, be like, hey, I'm not feeling okay right now. Like, are you able to just like let me vent? Or even if it's just like, hey, I need a little distraction. I'm feeling really sad and I don't think I should be left alone right now. That is okay. You're not going to seem weak. You're going to seem even stronger because you can identify that. Many people cannot identify what their emotion, where it's coming from. I am one of them. I am barely learning from this year of being able to identify what are my triggers, why am I upset with things. I have for the longest time always been it's always been very difficult for me to identify what what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling it. Usually it's the why. And sometimes I'm just like ashamed of even feeling that emotion. And that's just from past trauma and stuff like that. But I am definitely trying my best. I'm going to therapy. I am trying so hard to be able to identify that, to be able to better communicate with other people, whether that be in relationships, whether that be in friendships. And I have also been working with my therapist on that, about identifying that. And she's been helping me a lot with being able to accept a lot of those emotions and be like, you know what, it's okay to be angry. That is my biggest emotion that I'm so scared of, because I've I have felt like I was never able to be angry, whether that be for like angry with my parents, siblings, relationships. Like that was an emotion that was just not okay in my head, of course. And but now I am realizing that, a lot of the time anger stems from just sadness or just that longing for something. And it just ends up in anger, because then you just feel like, why did I put myself through that for so long? I hurt myself for doing that. And I'm so angry. And it's okay to be angry. It's okay. But it's also, there's a certain way that you have to release that anger. Not through physical violence, none of that. Like being able to be like, I am so angry and I just can't deal with this right now. But being able to identify the reason behind the anger is a big thing. And not everyone is, accepting of therapy. Again, I'm going to say this for everyone, even in the back. Not Therapy is not for everyone until you are ready. Not anybody telling you you need to go to therapy. No, because if people tell you you need to go to therapy, or try to get you into therapy and you are not wanting to do it, it is not going to work. Why? Because you are not going into this therapy session, you are not going into it with accepting or being able to do the homework. Because your therapist is going to give you homework, whether that be from writing in a journal, from doing breathing exercises when you get upset, to doing daily affirmations. I recently, with my therapist, because I have so much PTSD from my fiance that passed away, what she wanted me to do was create this little box, decorate it however I wanted to, to remember, either that be of to remind me of like him, whatever the case is. And I did decorate a box and everything. And she said, whenever you're feeling any emotions towards the person, to write a little note, write a small note, be like, hey, I'm so angry at you, or hey, I miss you and I wish you were still here, whatever the case is, however I'm feeling, and to put that in a box. And it's honestly helped me because of the fact that I am able to put out my feelings, put out what I'm feeling, and then let it go. It's gone. And that is a big thing of when it comes to, going to therapy and being able to express how you're feeling, whether that be a breakup or whatever the case is. As well as another thing that a lot of people get wrong is weaponizing healing. I'm over it as a performance, not reality. Sometimes you're not going to be over it. You're not going to be over it within a day, 2 days. Even if the person was abusive, whatever the case is, it takes sometimes a long time to be able to get over a breakup, because mind you, this person was your person. This person you told your life about, you told them about your insecurities. You were so close to this person, and sometimes you cannot be over it because this person is going to talk shit about you forever. No matter how long it's been, they will talk shit about you for however long. And sometimes there are people, I ain't gonna name names, that will just put all your business out there when you have never done anything to them. You've never told people their business of what they've done and their personal issues, their insecurities. And trust me, I've been there of where I've wanted to, but I didn't. Because guess what? I'm a decent human being, and you just can't scoop to their level because you are trying to heal from it. And so, in saying that I'm over it, like, it doesn't affect me anymore, trust me, honey, we know it still affects you. But being able to accept, yeah, it's still affecting me now, but I'm trying my best, and that's all that matters. And then another one, which, okay, I'm kind of having a therapy session for myself too. Using productivity or self improvement as a way to suppress feelings. I have done this for a long time. I, at one point, I just kept working. I worked and worked and worked to suppress any feelings that I had. My sadness, my anger, anything. I just worked so that I didn't have to deal with it. And with that, it does it does slow down your healing process and being able to actually accept things because you're not dealing with it. And it is a difficult habit to get out of. And I highly suggest being able to, if you can express it to people, then definitely I've found apps that like it's anonymous and you just talk about everything that you feel, whatever the case is. If it's a breakup, if it's, you being like mentally not here, like you just don't want to be here, whatever the case is, you just write everything that you're feeling and then you send it, and somebody else will send you a message based on whatever you said, and it's anonymous, but it helps with being able to express your feelings and being able to like let it out, because if you keep it in, it will eat you from the inside out. Trust me, it will. From personal experience, it will eat you from the inside to out. It will affect your relationships, it will affect your friendships. And I've honestly, this past year has been very eye-opening when it comes to learning about people and learning who's your support system, who's not going to be there. And so I definitely suggest, and I can definitely, I will have the link to the apps that I found, as well as I also found this journaling app where, let's say you don't want to journal how you're feeling and you don't want to write it. Sometimes I critique myself about my writing because I'm like, that's wrong spelling, that's wrong grammar. And so another app I found, which is honestly wonderful, because I look back at some of my journal entries that I have, but you basically make a video of you just talking about how you're feeling that day. And I look back and I'm like, wow, like I was so sad. I was very depressed during that time. And you get to reflect of where you are from then and then to now, and you see the difference, and it's eye opening, and to see yourself improve. I honestly love this app. I honestly should do it more often, but I definitely recommend it because it's good to see how, like, yourself, and be able to be like, wow, like she's so hurt. You kind of It's better to identify what you're hurting from, and to actually see yourself, and you're like, I don't ever want to put myself through that ever again. And so it is a very good app. I i will link all those apps in the bio or in the description, and so if you have any interest of any of those apps, go and look at them. Some have like different subscriptions if you want more features, but a lot of them are free, and so you don't need to like purchase anything. But if there's like extra features, you might have to, but it's not that expensive. But I will link that in the description. Now, to move on to how to actually move on from, a breakup. From talking about everything of journaling and stuff, feeling your feelings. Give yourself a window to grieve intentionally. Give yourself time. Give yourself that space to be able to accept this chapter is closed. And who knows, sometimes relationships, it's the right person, but the wrong time. That does exist. And so being able to give yourself a window to just accept things and cry and be angry and just have those emotions. That way you can just be at peace with yourself and the relationship. Another thing that is very, very helpful, again, I talked about this earlier, no contact rule. Trust me, it works. Don't contact them. Don't look at their social media. Don't look at, you know, don't try to see what they're doing, because you're just hurting yourself. This person is no longer in your life. You both, either you both accepted that, or, it was one sided, whatever the case is. But being able to just separate yourself from that person is very important. For me, this is my personal, I'm not a professional at this. Mind you, I'm working on eventually becoming a professional, but I, for me, what works better for me when it comes to no contact is I block the person. I block their contact. I delete their contact. I delete all the photos of the person in me because I'm the person that I will literally go through the photos if I still have them and just make myself cry basically. And I start questioning everything of like, oh, I should have did this, I should have done that. And instead I'm like, no. Yeah, I did things. That person did things. We both did things that, were harmful to each other. But we went our separate ways for a reason and we need to be separated. And so for me, I just block everything. I delete their pictures so I don't get reminders of them. And I know Facebook has a habit of being like, hey, you remember this? And you're like, I didn't want to see that. I've had that happen. I'm like, I didn't want to see that right now. I didn't want to cry. So I will literally spend hours deleting photos. And that's just me personally of how I heal from things is I just delete all the photos so that I don't get reminders of like that person. Another thing is reflect, don't ruminate. What did this relationship teach you? I I never thought about this until recently of instead of okay, you're going to go through a lot of stages. It's almost like you're going through the stages of grief. But it is very important to be able to reflect on your relationship and let that teach you to be a better person. Let that teach you to be better in your next relationship, even if you choose to get into a relationship, hopefully later on. Being able to reflect and be like, you know what? I need to definitely work on my communication. I need to work on being able to identify why am I upset and being able to express that to my partner. Being able to be like, hey, what you said back there, that was very upsetting. That hurt my feelings because of this. Being able to, as well as for the fact that what it taught you. In my past relationship recently, it taught me to stand up for myself. I am going to make mistakes, but having someone disrespect you, like, I'm not going to allow that for myself anymore. I'm not going to allow somebody to talk to me a certain way because I would never do that to that person. And so if you want to disrespect me, I'm going to shut it down because I don't deserve that. And that is definitely something I learned from my past relationship, as well as being able to communicate how I feel and being able to be like, hey, what you did when you did this, that upset me. That made me sad. That made me angry. And being able to talk about it, not yelling, because you can have a conversation instead of having an argument. And that's the thing that I learned from this past relationship of like, I'm not going to argue with you. This When I'm with somebody, this is a partnership. And when there's issues, I want to talk about it. I don't want to argue about it. I want to have a conversation and be like, you know what? When you said that, it upset me. And then be able to as well as talk to me and be like, you know what? Yeah, I'm so sorry that it upset you, and being able to have that conversation, that is the most important thing that I want in a relationship. And being able to identify that honestly helps me so much in my next or whatever my next relationship is, because instead of because my past relationship, this person was very quick to just jab, jab, jab. And for me, I shut down when someone just keeps coming at me and doesn't let me talk, or just no matter what I say, they're not listening. They were never able to listen what I'm saying. They just want to hurt me the whole time. And that is something I will never allow in any relationship ever again, because I deserve to be listened to be respected. And so when it comes to me shutting down, I have learned to be like, you know what? This conversation is not going anywhere. I'm going to take a few minutes and I will come back and we will continue this conversation. And that honestly has helped so much in not only relationships with, in intimate relationship, as well as just a friendship, as well as a relationship with my like parents, being able to be like, I'm literally shutting down right now and I need time, and that is okay. And for someone to and that is also another thing that I've learned in my past relationships, is that if they are upset of you taking a second to just calm down, to be able to be level headed and be able to continue a conversation, if they get upset about that, that is a red flag. Because this is somebody that wants to continue to just jab and to be right, and they're not wanting to listen to you. They're not wanting to really hear you out of what you're feeling and why. They just want to be right and they want to hurt you because you hurt them, or whatever the case is. That is not what a relationship is about. And that is not what you do to somebody. Because you can communicate all you want, but if the person cannot listen, cannot try to understand what your point of view is, that person is going to negatively affect you so much, and they will not validate how you're feeling. And that's all anybody ever wants to be, is validated, to validate your feelings. And when you don't feel validated, you start breaking down or kind of feeling like you're crazy, or like your emotions aren't like, what you're feeling isn't valid. And it sucks. And I've had to go through that so many times with past relationships. My recent relationship, man, was that a struggle. And but the thing is, sometimes people don't have never was never taught how to properly communicate with somebody. But again, going back to that, also another thing I learned, don't give people excuses. Don't. You can try to understand them, see their point of view, yes, but don't give them excuses for repeated behavior, because you are that's going to hurt you the most. Yeah, you wouldn't do what they're doing to you, but for you to give them excuses of why they're saying certain things, their behavior, whatever the case is, that hurts you more than it hurts them, because they're not doing the same. They're not, trying to see your point of view. They're just being mean, or being like, excuse my language, assholes. And that's not okay. I have time and time again been making excuses of why people are being mean to me, being rude to me, bullying, cyberbullying, whatever the case is. But now that like I've really been trying to work on myself with therapy and stuff like that. Like, I don't give people excuses anymore. I don't. If you want to act like that, that's fine. But I'm going to excuse myself from that negative energy, because I have enough on my plate. And so I'm not going to bring that into my life for me to stress about when I don't need to. And so that is definitely something that it takes a long time to get there. But trust me, once you do, it feels so much better, because you don't care about what people are saying, what people are thinking, because you know what? That's not part of you. You do you, Whatever makes you happy, you do it. Because no matter what, there's going to be people that scrutinize you, that talk shit, whatever. But as long as you're doing you, that's all that matters. Anyways, back to what I was saying. Reflect, don't ruminate. Okay? So once you start feeling, you felt your emotions, whatever the case is, it's easier for you to be able to, you know what, this relationship taught me this, this, this. This is not what I want in a relationship. And that's what's important. All right. And so now that kind of goes into like getting curious. So, who are you now as a person? What do you want in your relationships now? From what you reflected from your past relationship. What is it that you now want? What are things that you're not going to put up with? Make a list. Be like, I'm not going to put up with this, 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 this. And create those boundaries. Boundaries it is something that is very important. Make that boundary. Be like, I am not going to put up with that. And if you do that, that's it. It is very important to be able to make those boundaries, even in an intimate relationship. Another thing with moving on, exercising, sleep hygiene, taking care of yourself. That is the most important thing. Give yourself some love. Give yourself some space to love yourself. Do some things that you've never done. I started, painting more. I started doing like this podcast. I recently started doing this. I honestly love doing podcasts. It is so fun, and you're able to express yourself and being able to hopefully help people around the world, if any, to be able to be like, dang, I'm going through that too. I'm not the only one. You are not alone, honey. Trust me. And it honestly it's really fun. So being able to explore different things, that will actually, it will help you so much, because then you get back into things. You start loving yourself. You got you. You're always going to have you. And being able to give yourself love it's amazing. And you're going to feel so much better after, because then once you get into another relationship, they're gonna see, wow, this person is amazing. This person has got themselves. And if things go wrong in that relationship, they still got themselves. And that is so important. Once you start doing all of those things, once you start that healing, and mind you, everyone's time limit is different. Some people can do this within 2 months, a month, a year, a couple years. Just don't even like give yourself time. Don't give yourself a time limit. Just let things happen. Let yourself feel the grief. No contact. Reflect. Get curious. Do those things, but do it at your own time. And then eventually, once you're ready, then you can start, looking for somebody else. And once all of that starts happening, once you start really healing, not just being like, yeah, I've healed. No, actually healing. If you're actually healing, you're not going to say that you healed. Okay? You're just going to be content with who you are as a person. There's going to be less obsession. You're going to be more at peace. The relationship is going to be, you're going to have nostalgia, but it's not going to be painful anymore. You're not going to have that deep pain whenever you think about it. And genuinely you're going to want the best for them. You're just going to feel neutral. You're going to be like, you know what? I did my mistakes, you did your mistakes, but I hope that you find your peace. I hope you find your person. And that once you get to that point and you genuinely think that, that's when you know that, you know what? I've gotten to my my peaceful stage of, the grief of this relationship. So, to bring everything together, breakups are freaking hard. No matter if you dump them, if you're the one that got dumped, it's hard. But you will get through it. I promise you. It's going to be difficult, but once you start feeling it, feeling all your emotions, having that no contact, reflecting, getting curious, learning who you are as a person, whether that this person's going to be a lesson or it's going to be your forever. No matter what, it's going to change you as a person, but I hope that this will help you heal as a person as well as just learn who you are. Learn your boundaries. Learn what you don't like, what you do like. And that will definitely help you with becoming one, a better person, two, being able to be like, I hope, all the best for you, but I know you'll find your person. I'm going to find my person. But breakups aren't failures, they're transitions into the next chapter. Moving on doesn't mean forgetting, it means integrating. And this hurt is a sign that you love deeply. And that means you're capable of loving again. I'm going to say it again. This hurt that you feel from your breakup is a sign that you loved deeply. And that means you're capable of loving again. Thank you for listening to my podcast. Again, with me, Julie, unleashed, unfiltered, and unapologetically human. If you have a breakup story, personal stories, submit your story to me and I will go through it. We can talk about it a little bit. Again, all of my social media will be linked down below. My Instagram, Julie Unleashed, my TikTok, as well as my YouTube channel that will have my podcast as well. But submit your stories and we can definitely talk about it. I am more than welcome to talk about freaking breakups because trust me, it's hard out there. But in time, you're going to heal. And I believe that. So, again, thank you for listening to the podcast. And I hope you guys have a good day. Bye, guys.